Welcome, everyone. We are suffering Smallville. This is season 2, episode 14. It's called Rush. I am Peter, of course. That is Connor. And in this episode, a parasite from the cave, of which there is a rave being held at the start, infects Pete and make. I think we said this in the description last week. It basically sounded like Pete was going to get his own version of Red Kryptonite. And then later in the episode, Chloe also gets infected with it. But to be fair, the writers acknowledge this comparison because later on, to make Clark act like them, Pete effectively roofies Clark with some red kryptonite by slipping it in his pocket so he'll act like they do. So they did acknowledge that it was basically the same kind of thing that was happening to them. The problem is, though, is that the other people who were infected by this eventually did something so dangerous that they killed themselves for adrenaline. And that's what it's building up to. So there's a bit of a drug parallel, obviously, going on.
Yeah. I mean, and they made that pretty clear for the first time, probably half the episode. They don't realize it's a parasite. They think they've been drugged.
Yeah. Yes, we're introduced to a character that we'll remember till the end of time named Travis, who I never knew was such an important part of Superman lore until I got to this episode.
It's essential.
Yeah. Chloe's true love, if you will.
Superman doesn't happen without this.
He runs up to Chloe at the party at the start and kisses her, and she's just kind of taken aback by it and pushes him away and says, "What's wrong?" And he's clearly, he's clearly on something. He's clearly like got adrenaline going, and then he climbs up one of the structural things that are there for the lights and jumps to his death. So that gets that.
Chloe
done.
then claims later that Pete tried to save him.
Whereas Pete was busy being a hypocrite by leaning against the wall that 1 minute earlier he was trying to tell two people who were making out against the wall to move because they didn't want the paintings getting like rubbed up against. So I don't know. The whole thing was a bit of a
I'm particularly annoyed at myself because twice in this episode I said a line word for word before they said it.
Yeah, we had a new drinking rule this episode, which was decided towards the end because there's some convenient amnesia, because Chloe, when she's under the influence of the parasite, learns what Clark is, so she has to forget by the end, and we decided that when someone has to get amnesia, or someone dies after they find out that Clark's an alien, that is now a drinking rule. And it'll happen probably, I'd say, 2 out of every 3 episodes. Yeah. Some of that.
Yeah.
That said, though, we might have got one of the worst and most forced, like, wink references to he's going to be Superman in this.
But can you fly?
Yeah, he's showing off some of his powers to Chloe, and she just says, "But can you fly?" And I'm like, why would you just leap to that being a possibility? It feels like, see, if you see him jump really high or something, I'd be like, okay, maybe you'd say, hey, does that extend to flying?
I feel like they didn't even establish super strength in this scene.
No,
immediately. Like, they establish invulnerability, which I think they're kind of lumping in as the same thing, right?
Which it's to an extent, yeah.
Yeah, but there is a clear difference.
I think invulnerability,
being able to survive being smacked really hard and being able to lift something really heavy.
Kind of. So invulnerability to me, the thing that makes it a little bit separate from super strength is I think super strength would make you invulnerable to certain things. Like, super strength to me implies that your bones can't break, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you can't get cut or that you can, have surface level damage. And
so you're immune to blunt damage, but but hey, slashing damage, you'll still take that.
Well, even a slashing damage can maybe still bruise you. Like your muscles will still feel the whatever, or the skin at least will still get the impact. But obviously Superman doesn't have that either, so he's just invulnerable as well on top of super strength. But if I'm separating them out, that's why I would say that I think some super strength does lead to certain invulnerability, because it's like, to lift a car, your arms have to be able to not break, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. But this example here is Pete smacks him with a baseball bat and it splinters.
Yes.
That does not immediately scream to me, oh man, this dude can lift a tractor.
No. I think that's fair. She does eventually see him catch a car, though, so that's...
I mean, by that point, that's a good bit later.
Yeah, that's towards the end of the episode.
That's well after she's asked if he can fly.
Yeah. What does she see? She sees the heat vision, she sees the bat breaking over his back, and she sees a little bit of super speed.
Yes.
That's the main thing she sees early on. Yeah. So.
And that's enough to go, hey, yeah, you're a goddamn alien.
Oh yeah, and she is so turned on by it. Which, to be fair, they're on this parasite. They're clearly both like I'm not convinced that her first instinct, if she was being normal, would be to start wetting the panties. Like, that's very much the parasite causing that reaction. But it is interesting. I was thinking it's a little bit interesting though that Clark's always so scared of telling people and like them looking at him differently. I do think it's interesting that on this parasite, Chloe's reaction was about as positive as you could possibly ask for. Almost too positive in a sense, because it was like horny positive, but it was.
Which doesn't really track with either Travis or Pete. Neither of them got crazy horny.
Yes, but they're not an attractive woman, so that's why they didn't act that way. See, the episode wants the sex appeal, so we want Chloe to act slutty, to dress more slutty, to speak kind of slutty. Like, there's
emo is slutty in early 2000s, which yeah,
kinda. But I mean, there's a scene before Clark realizes she's been infected. Right, he goes to talk to her, and she is seducing him by licking this lollipop and making little innuendos the whole time. Like, they are like milking this for all of the sex appeal they can get away with on the WB. Like, she's
admittedly quite a lot.
Yeah, she's like, oh, what orifice did you pull that out from, Clark? As she licks the lollipop and she sucks on it, and the last thing she says to him, because he asks her to look into like the thing that, because he's there to talk about Pete being infected with a parasite, and she's just sort of going along with it. And when he leaves, he asks for something, and she's like, "Yeah, I'll do that for you, Clark." And I'm like, why does it sound like you're accepting like the job of like a I don't know, a handy or something? I don't know. It sounds dirty. It sounds like, I'll do that for you, Clark. It sounds kinky, right? That's what they're going for, and
just tone of voice that she puts on for the entire thing. Yeah,
it's that. It's the eyes. It's the constant licking of the lollipop. It's seduction.
Pulling out the word orifice.
Yeah, orifice. Good word.
That's a good word.
So, and then, by this point in the episode, Clark's already saved Pete from jumping in front of a bus. Pete has yelled that he's an alien in front of people, which Clark immediately starts looking all like uncomfortable by, and I'm like,
just laugh it off, dude.
Yeah, they're not going to believe him, right? There's no proof here.
There's a crazy guy yelling in the street that you're an alien. Just shrug it off and be like, hey, I want to know what he's on.
But basically, Pete has an idea. He slips him some red kryptonite, and I was like, oh, this is interesting, because, like, okay, Clark was the one who was going to save the day, and now he's just as... Now, notably, it's not a ring this time, it's just in his shirt pocket, so eventually the shirt, is going to come off, and that's going to free him from the red kryptonite at the most inopportune moment. Because him and Chloe are making out, they're being all flirty, and Chloe intentionally wants to go and make out at the Talon so Lana will see it, and that's what they do. Which I guess we have to rewind here and say, Clark grows a pair this episode and actually asks Lana out on a date after Pete gives him shit for not being man enough because he's on the parasite, but he grills Clark a bit, and this motivates him to go and ask her on a date, to which she says yes very, very quickly, very easily. He's very surprised by that, and it's like, as soon as this is set up this early in the episode, you know for a fact that it's not happening. Something is getting in the way, and it's trying. And I'll give credit here. I do actually think it's kind of nice that when Clark goes to break off the date, he tells her as much truth as he possibly can, because he says Pete's got something wrong with them and it might end up killing him. I have to try and get him to the hospital, and he's being completely honest. That accurately describes the situation. The problem is that 2 seconds later Pete comes in, and because he's on this thing, he's just happy and saying he's never felt better, and it just looks like he's lying. So at least compared to all the previous times that Clark has had to lie to Lana, this is actually him telling the truth and then it looking like he's lying. I don't...
Bad, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do think a lot of this episode is constructed around just, like, torturing the shippers, the people who, like, are obsessed with the two main characters getting together. And it's very... And the show's been doing it so much for a season and a half at this point that it's hard to even get any enjoyment out of it.
I kind of love that this episode pisses off both sets of fandoms as to Clark and Lana and the Clark and Chloe ones. I don't know what the names of those were at the time. I'm sure there were them.
Klana, maybe.
Lana, yeah.
And
Chloe's and Clark's already merged.
Yeah,
with the same name either way. They either become Chloe or Clark. I hate that.
Yeah, I don't have an answer for you.
I hate it.
I don't have an answer how you ship them. What's the ship name for Chloe and Clark? There has to be one.
Wait, hang on. Google might have this.
Super Chloe.
Yeah, it probably is something like that.
Chloel.
So it's Clark, but spelt CHLARK, according to this shipping wiki. There's a shipping wiki.
That is upsetting.
Why is there a shipping wiki?
I'm very distressed right now by this knowledge, but it does make sense.
Sorry, my favorite thing about this, it comes up with like 4 suggestions as to what I might want. Clark and Chloe, Clark and Oliver Queen, obviously, Chloe and Lex, Klex, yeah. My favorite though, Jonathan Kent, Martha Kent. Would you like to guess that name?
The Kents.
Jonathan / Martha. That's the official ship.
They're married. You just say their surname. It's easy.
I know. This is my favorite.
I mean, look, it makes sense that it's only a visual thing that you wouldn't tell by saying it, because let's face it, all the people...
No one was saying this in the early 2000s.
No one was saying it out loud. They were talking about it online like a bunch of losers. You don't have to be able to say it differently out loud. You
had to type this out, because no one said this publicly.
See, this isn't like Fringe, where you had the fun alternate names for the alternate universe, where you had to differentiate them, so it was like a fun thing, like Folivia, Walternate. Yeah. These were fun things. These were fun ideas, and they were cool little gimmicky things. This is just...
I don't even hate, like, shipping names in general, right? Like, I get their purpose.
Uh-huh.
I do hate this one, though, because it only works if you write it.
Yeah.
If I say that in a sentence, it just sounds like I'm saying Clark. Like, it doesn't work. That annoys me.
Yeah. You have to use one of his other names to make it work, because Clark and Chloe they just end up forming the word either of their names over and over again. So yeah you got to go Chloel, or maybe
it'll be like the Super Chloe one, like they did with
Super Carp. That was from Supergirl.
Yeah, that was it. That was the one I was thinking. Yeah,
they're all desperate for Kara and Lena to
which fine, but at least I respected the name there, where I know what this means, I can say it, and I understand the link, whereas I can't say Clark. I can, but it's meaningless.
Look, I don't really get shipping as a thing, okay? I don't
either, but
I don't understand it. Like, if a show makes me care about two people who are building towards a relationship, that's great, but I don't consider it shipping. Because typically, to me, when they're shipping, this is not always the case, but most of the time they're shipping characters that are probably never actually going to get together.
I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Who do you want Dick Grayson to be with in a relationship?
Barbara Gordon.
Right, so you ship Dick and Barbara.
I think she's the correct partner for him from a writing perspective.
That is literally, you are defining shipping.
That's not shit. No. These people online who are on about their best ships and all that shit, they're not talking about what's best for the writing. They just become obsessed with two people becoming together. That's different.
Yeah, but I could make an argument that Dick and Starfire is better for a writing.
You could, and that's a fair debate. But that doesn't mean either of us are shipping anything. We're discussing what's best for the writing.
I think that's borderline what shipping is.
No, it's not. It's sad, pathetic obsession is what shipping actually is.
I mean, yes, but I can't argue with that.
Shipping is like having a sports team. It's about picking a side and supporting that side and shitting on the other side as much as you possibly can. That's what shipping is. Don't pretend it's otherwise. You know it's to be true. It's 13-year-old girls, sports teams. That's what it is.
I wish it was just 13-year-old girls, because it's not
really.
Anymore, is it?
But that's the peak, though. That was where it came from. That was the zenith.
I hate that there's a shipping.fandom wiki, and that it has just every combination you can think of, and all the names.
like I'm cracking a lot of jokes at people who ship things. I don't really care. Enjoy shows how you want to enjoy shows. Find the enjoyment where you can, by all means. But I generally don't understand, because there's a lot of people who every show they watch, they have to have their ship in the show, right? They start a show and they're like, okay, I need to find my ship. What's the two that I want to ship?
Yeah,
I don't get it.
So bad. Like they've got one for Arthur Curry and Lois Lane, and it's just Arthur X Lois. You didn't even try there.
Why would you ship those two? See, this is so stupid. Like what?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I hate the low effort of it more than I hate the fact that they do ship it. Like, you want to ship it, fine. You're not harming me. More often than not, you Felicity fans can go do one. You harmed me.
It's just me.
Often than not.
You got that wrong. It's Olicity.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I know. I don't want to say that. But at least come up with a name.
Okay, we have went on a hell of a tangent here on shipping.
Yeah, that annoyed me. Sorry.
Yes. Yes, we're not shipping people. Yes. Anyway, so yes, Clark and Lana were going on a date. Then no, unfortunately, tragedy intervened.
Yeah. And obviously, that first bit, it's like, hey, he can still pass this off because they've all got the parasites, and it could have been proven that he was right. The first bit where Chloe and Pete walk in.
I mean, after all,
we're fine.
After all, they go to the hospital later, and both Chloe and Pete get a parasite taken out of them. So it's like, no, that part was absolutely 100% true. It just looks like in the end that Clark was happy to go along with the kissing. He was like, oh yeah, why not? If you're going to throw yourself at me. Yeah.
That's the part where he loses it. Yeah.
So, and there's like almost nothing he comes by at the end with a rose and I think a little pizza. I think that's what that was.
I don't remember.
I mean, box of chocolate.
A rose.
Box of chocolates would make more sense, but I could have sworn I saw the word pizza on the box.
Maybe he just grabbed some chocolates from around the house and just chucked them in a box.
And of course, we get this dramatic final moment of her throwing the rose into the trash, and there's like a slow motion. There's a big sound effect as it lands.
It thunks.
Yes,
and I'm all for hefty sound effects that are more than real life. Like, I'm all in favor of that metal noise when you draw a sword, that shink.
Oh, of course, yes.
Yeah. They don't do that in real life because that would be horrific. But it's a great sound effect, and I'm all for using it. But why does this rose need to thunk?
Yeah, or like when you're watching a martial arts movie, and they'll have some extra sort of whooshes and stuff like for the
and like a really good smack sound.
Yeah. Like that's it's not realistic, but it's adding to the fun. It's
cinematic. This is not cinematic.
So there's some real critiques of this Clark and Lana edging that the show is doing, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, you're going to argue with that description?
No, I'm not. I just wasn't expecting the phrasing.
Okay, right. So here's the thing. Obviously, this is a show for teenagers. It's a WB. And hell, there's good examples of romance in shows like this. Dare I bring up the hit television show?
No,
right?
no.
There's perfectly fine romances on that. The problem here is, right, you can have your romance appeal, you can have your lead and your other lead, and you can have them, well, they won't they for a while, right? Many shows do it. Sitcoms are especially notorious for a long time. Jim and Pam, all that stuff, right? And it works because you write it in a way where it's somewhat natural or whatever. But at a certain point, it feels like the writers are going out of their way to dangle the carrot in front of you to snatch it away. And this show has done it so many times at this point that the second he asked her on a date, we immediately went, okay, how's it not happening? Because it's definitely not happening. And once you get me to that point, it means that you have poisoned the well with your writing, and none of the things that have happened between them, or at least the majority of them, have been natural. They've all been these forced contrivances to make him look like he's a liar, to create drama. And the sad part of that is
it's impressive though that they've managed to do that in like 30-ish episodes.
I mean, that's not a good impressive, but yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah.
So this is a legit critique here, like, because I know some people who like the show are going to be like, oh, you just shit on everything, and we do, and sometimes we're shitting on things just because we like it, shitting on the show. It's fun,
Kind of fun. It's a bad show.
But I'm stopping the fun here to tell you a real critique. This is actual bullshit, and it's ruined any chance of me caring about them as a pair and them getting together. Not that there was much hope before with the bad acting and all the other stuff going on, but this kills it. This repeatedly doing this just makes it, especially because we know that eventually, even if they get together, there has to be a Lois down the line, right? So Lana is never going to be the ever after. Never.
So obviously right now they play it as the triangle with Lana and Chloe, right?
Kinda, yeah.
When Lois comes in, I don't remember. Does it become a square for a while before we get rid of Lana?
I mean, I don't think that. I could be misremembering. I don't think, at least in the first season with Lois, they even play it like as a potential. I mean, obviously we know it's a potential romance because it's Lois, but I don't think they play it like she's like a love interest. Really, at first.
Is she older than them in the show?
I think she's a little bit older.
Might be, like a couple of years.
Yeah. Which makes sense because I think in most versions of Superman, Lois is a few years older than Clark. You know, nothing that feels like a big.
It kind of really never matters, does it?
Well, nothing that's a big deal when they're both like hitting, like he's 30 and she's 33. But when you're in high school and someone's 3 years older, it's a big difference. Then it feels like a bigger difference.
Yeah, he's 15 right now.
Allegedly, I don't know. No.
Allegedly 15 right now.
I bet you Erica Durance is younger though. I bet the actress is younger than he is. I bet you.
Find out. I don't know.
They may be the same age, but if I was to guess that she's actually a little bit younger.
She's 45, June 78.
She's 45, you say?
Yeah, he's 46, so she's a year younger. Well, she's about 9 months younger.
That still sounds like a correct for Peter.
It does. It does, yeah.
Yeah.
But we are also supposed to be believing that this man is 15.
We are, but if we're going to believe that she's older, then they should have cast someone who's a bit older than him to make it feel that way. But of course, they decided not to do that.
Yeah, but she still had to be roughly the same age, and they they can't go too much older because he's 15, allegedly.
Lois is a cradle snatcher. She likes him young.
I just love like Allison Mack is 5 years younger than Tom Welling.
Yeah, I think that's an issue. I think obviously Allison Mack.
6 years.
Yeah, I think Allison Mack and Kristin Kreuk clearly are the age that they should be. Tom Welling was too old when he was cast. Like, if you're all meant to be in the same year of high school, there's no reason why one of them, unless they just look really young, but naturally, they should be cast.
I think in the context of the group, Erica Durance is actually okay as a casting.
Compared to the rest of them, yeah. Yeah, the rest of them seem
Tom Welling's the odd one out, whereas that she's okay. Like, she's, a few years older than the other girls. That makes perfect sense. He's the odd one out, not them.
Yeah. Anywho, so this whole like, there was moments of funny here. I was laughing quite a bit when Chloe was like doing the whole lollipop thing and making the eyes at him, and Clark's just being like oblivious and just sort of like brushing it off, like, oh, that's weird. Oh well, I'll just move on. That had its funny moments, but then there's moments where you have to sit through Lana crying and being mad at Clark. It's very give and take, this episode, as far as moments that are either funny because they're intentionally funny or because they're funny because we just like shitting on funny bad Smallville. I don't
know. I think the seemingly drunk teenager throwing himself off this scaffolding, breaking his neck and dying immediately, and no one reacting at all is quite funny.
Also, it's hardly talked about for the like when Clark goes to Chloe. I think this is before she's been infected as well. And he goes to talk to her. She's like, oh yeah, this other guy who was at the party died and this other woman died. And she explains their deaths. I'm like, so 3 people at this rave all died within like a day of the rave. And like, no one's really like talking about like a string of like teenage deaths. You would think there'd be like, I don't know, like a politician talking about, oh, the drug craze is like, killing the students of Smallville or something. Like, it's not like it's a big town. This isn't like New York. 3's a lot in a day.
The amount of people who have died in these 2 seasons, or this season and a half, there's got to be at least 1% of the Smallville population.
Yeah, that's actually something we said in the scene, is that if anything, though, you could argue that they're so desensitized at this point, given how many students have died in the last year and a half, that maybe it does make sense that they're not reacting to this at all. They're like, whatever.
I think it's brought up like once later. Clark just goes like, hey, come on, Pete's really beating up about Travis.
Yeah, he's heartbroken.
Yeah. And then she's like, no, we grieve in different ways. Let him, ride his bike down the street.
Yeah, at this point, Chloe, Clark, Lana, they're all like, the Smallville, if they die, they die.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, dear. So we have to talk about the caves. There's a whole thing going on with the caves this episode.
Because we start with Rave in the cave.
Yeah, of course. And then Clark's down there cleaning up, and Lex is down there. And because Clark's got a book back, this is actually really funny when you think of the sequence of events. Clark claims that he's down here so often because Lex asked the security guard, and he's like, "Yeah, Clark Kent's down here every day," which is a lot. Even in the context of us knowing what Clark knows, that still feels like, what are you doing down here every single day, just staring at these paintings, trying to decipher them? But he explains to Lex that he's working on a paper, and Kayla's brought up like twice in this episode. I'm shocked for the continuity.
It was Kyla, wasn't it?
Kayla, well, whatever. She's dead.
I don't know. Yeah, who cares?
Another dead teenager in Smallville. Look at that.
Yeah, but she was Native American. They didn't care about her in the first place.
So that's a really dark line.
It was dark, yeah. It was.
Very political dark line. You just.
It was, yeah.
Sorry. Yes. I believe Connor was criticizing the attitude of people who make these shows, not saying that is his own belief, just for the record.
Not just the shows, just, maybe people at large.
Anyway, so he says that he's writing a paper, right? And Lex pulls out this book that he's got in his bag.
He's left his bag half open, so Lex can just reach in and grab the book. And
it's, it's like this linguist who like studies old paintings and caves and hieroglyphics and things like that. And we see the photo in the back, and I recognize the actor in the back. I was like, oh, he's going to show up later in the episode. And sure enough, Lex brings him in. The guy's like, no, I'm busy. I've got a dig in Chile next week. I can't do anything. But then when he sees the paintings and he looks in the cave, he's like, I'm in. Like, this is next level stuff.
Yeah. Lex offers him a big fat check first. He's like, I don't need your stupid money, and rips it up. But interesting paintings. Oh, I do love a good mystery.
Yeah, and they end up disputing. This guy doesn't want Clark down here, and Lex says, sorry, Clark, I hired the expert, what he says goes. But then later on, after Clark, when he's on Red Kryptonite, provokes Lex and like tells him to get lost, and even drops a little, well, you'd love to know what I really am doing down in those caves, wouldn't you, kind of thing. It's like, oh, you've just confirmed Lex's suspicions that there's a secret. So,
yep,
good job on that. At the end, Lex is telling this guy, look, Clark Kent goes down there whenever he wants. He's like, why? He's like, because I think he knows more than he's letting on about those caves. Which he kind of does, and he kind of...
He's like, I got a gut feeling.
And, he's right. He does know something. He can't really explain much of the paintings, but he knows something about their origin and that it relates to himself in some way. So... yeah, I mean, this was mostly... I feel like every time Clark and Lex have one of these conversations, like, there's the first time they're down in the cave, and at the end, Lex is like, hey, I told the new security guard not to let anyone down here without my permission, and there's an awkward silence. He's like, anyone except Clark Kent, of course. But even the way he says it, there's like a bit of like a passive-aggressive, like, I'm on to you, but I'm pretending to be best friends kind of like vibe to him. Like, how do they even think they're good friends? Because all these conversations they have, like every other episode, they have at least one conversation that's so shrouded in like passive aggressive like skepticism and like scrutiny.
We spoke about like when Lex comes and sees Clark and he's on the Red K and and the two of them are there, and Clark's like, you should stay away from me, Lex. It's for your own good.
And he doesn't see him later in the episode to apologize, which makes me think they might not even address it next episode.
Yeah.
Because he should have to say, oh, sorry, by the way, I was, I don't know.
Kind of being a bit of a dick.
Yeah. But they're probably not going to bring it up. I could be wrong. Maybe they address it next episode. But he never sees Lex later and apologizes and says that he was, I mean, honestly, at this point, just lie and say you took something, Clark. Like...
So we're all drunk,
In fact, you can still blame Pete. Just say, yeah, Pete had the parasite and he literally roofied me. with something. He gave me something.
You don't even have to like say, just look, Peter. They had the parasite. They came around with drinks, and I joined in because I'm a teenager, and let's be honest, that's not that out of character for teenagers to do that.
It's out of character for Clark Kent. Come on, he's never touched a drop of alcohol in his life.
Probably not, but that's only because it doesn't affect him.
That boy wears protection to masturbate, and you know it. This is a straight-laced man, okay?
It is.
Everything's by the book.
But he succumbs to peer pressure. he Pete and Chloe with the head drinks, and he was just like, fine, I'll have one. And because he never drinks, he's such a lightweight. That's all it took.
Yeah. Well, that's the story. Obviously, in actual fact, I don't think can get drunk on alcohol because
absolutely not.
He's Superman. His body just flushes out the poison like it's nothing. Like, what's this?
Must be nice.
Yeah, but
then again, you'd have to watch Smallville sober.
Would you drink as much though if it didn't give you like a feeling though?
Yeah, I drink loads of whiskey because I love the taste of a lot of whiskeys, and I have to limit myself to like, one or two small glasses.
So you're saying the alcohol effect is actually holding you back from more whiskey?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
I think like so. The like alcohol-free whiskey is kind of just shit. It's not about the effect of the alcohol; it's that it physically does not taste as good, right? It's the process of making it with the alcohol, the ethanol interacting with the other substances is what makes it taste the way it does. And as of right now, no one has replicated that taste successfully. But if I could drink whiskey without it giving me any, like it tasted exactly the same as it does, but there were no effects whatsoever, I would drink far more than I do.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Except when watching Smallville.
Except when watching Smallville, yeah. What I need is like a pill that you can take. It's like, hey, you take this now, and you can drink what you want. But you're sober from that point on. It'll like sober me up immediately. It'll flush it all out. Go for a piss out all the shit. It's gone. But so what I can do is I can drink all I need to while watching Smallville and beforehand. Take the pill. Like, all right, I'm good now, and then I could have actual nice stuff and not waste it on Smallville. Ideal world.
Oh, that's the dream, I suppose.
That is the dream.
Yeah.
I'm definitely the first person to say that's the dream.
Anyway, so that was that stuff. The parents were a bit miffed about Pete, and Pete was feeling really regretful when he found out what he did at the end. It's kind of interesting though, because so the whole big thing is that Pete and Chloe go in the car to this cliff, and they're going to drive off it for the rush, and Clark catches them, and takes them to the hospital, and he goes to see Chloe, and I was glad we got the scene with Pete after at the farmhouse with the parents, because it kind of felt like, wait, Chloe's getting the wrap-up scene for this plot, but it started with Pete. It kind of felt like Pete was getting the shaft as far as importance.
Wouldn't be the first time,
yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. In fact, it would be, how many episodes have there been? Deduct like 2 off that number, and that's probably how many times he's had the shaft. So, but she's asking questions about what happened and why the date didn't happen, and she's kind of like prodding to try and find out if it was her. And even when Lana comes in, she's like, oh, he was kissing another girl. Did you know her? And Lana's just very vague and says, I didn't recognize her. I'm like, oh, very good. Double meaning there. Very nice.
Letter of the law.
Yeah, technically she didn't lie. But Chloe's very concerned about everything she may or may not have done, and conveniently, of course, has both Chloe and this is the funny thing actually about the amnesia thing, is that Chloe, obviously Clark comes in very concerned and says, hey, what do you remember about this last day or two? And she's like, well, I remember being in the cave, and then I remember waking up from surgery. Like, everything else is gone. What's funny about this is that when we get Pete's scene and Pete comes in and he has to talk about what he's done and feel bad about it, they just have to put in a quick line where he's like, oh, Clark told me everything and I feel really bad. It just kind of feels like, it felt like you wanted him to remember, but you couldn't because you had to make Chloe not remember. So
convenient amnesia. It's a real bitch for these writers.
It's convenient, but inconvenient at the same time.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword.
Yes, so I thought that was a little funny when I stopped and thought about it a little. But yeah, as far as I mean, the episode as a whole, I mean, Lex is looking at the paintings. He's got someone working on him. Clearly, that plot's not done. I'm sure he's going to be dabbling in more things. The parasite they have tested, it's alien in origin. I mean, they don't know that for sure, but they know it's nothing like anything on Earth. So that's
reasonably speculating alien at that point, I think.
So that's obviously something for later. We find out Clark has been missing like the start of school every single day because he's been down in the caves, and this is a running joke with the Flash, to be fair, so I get it. But I'm like, you've got super speed. You can go down there, see everything you want to see, and get. I guess the idea is that he's lost in thought and he's not paying attention to time.
I actually think this is one of the most realistic things that Flash or Superman does with this, running late thing. Like, so I used to miss the bus for school like every day because the bus stop was 10 seconds outside my house. So I always thought, it's fine, I'll make it. And I used to miss it like, at least 3 times a week. I'd miss the bus because I'd be like, I'll make it. I've got loads of time, and then I didn't. So the idea of them, they'd be like, I got super speed. I'll make it. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And there's like, oh shit. Yeah, I get that.
All right, I can see it. But yeah, so that's pretty much the episode. I don't know if there's anything else I'm forgetting that we should talk about. Because so much of it was focused on like Pete, but because I guess there's more stuff with Pete. He's riding the bike down the pavement. He's standing on a car, jumping in front of a bus, and then there's a whole scene where he threatens Clark. It says that he'll reveal his secret, and then whips out some green kryptonite to hurt him. And then kind of snaps the box shut again and opens it again. In fact, there's a scene where I was questioning the radius of the effect, because normally with the green kryptonite, as soon as it's like within the vicinity of him, unless it's in the lead box, he immediately starts feeling the effect. But there's a scene where Pete punches him out of nowhere and it lands, it puts him down. And I was thinking, is the parasite giving him super strength? Just for a split second. And then Chloe says, how did you do that? And he opens his hand and he had kryptonite in his hand. And I'm like, wait, did his hand shield the effect? But only enough that the punch would still work? I'm just saying.
So right now, I'm picturing a bit from, I think it was The Simpsons that did this bit. And it was like the comic book guy at a convention panel. And it was like, it was like a panel for like, something like Xena or something like that sort of show. Sure. And they were questioning, in this episode, this person did this, how do you explain that? And the answer was just, a wizard did it. No matter what the question was, it was, a wizard did it. That's what I'm getting here. You just don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. A wizard did it.
Okay, it stuck out to me.
Yeah, but a wizard did it, so it's fine.
Oh,
Smallville needs its own version of Speed Force, bro. I ain't got to explain shit. We need a version of that for this, to explain these stupid bollocks things like that.
The first thing Chloe does when she's on the parasite is Clark comes out of the torch and she's just like necking with some guy at the table, and then she sees Clark, puts on the smile, and does it. Oh, don't be jealous, Clark. And then she just kicks the guy out, and turns out she's like, I just saw him in the hall and they look cute. That's it.
I'd say that's the second thing she's in the parasite, but otherwise, yeah.
Oh, you're talking about when she tells the linguistic kiss her ass?
Yeah. So okay. It's such an immediate shift when she's infected, right?
Yeah.
There is no incubation period.
Yeah, she immediately tells him to get lost, basically, and storms out. I think that's pretty much everything, though. I'll do it. Yeah, there you go. That's another Smallville. I guess we have to...
What are we going to put up with next?
That's a good question. Next episode is called Prodigal. And...
I know which one this is.
Oh, yeah, this is Lex Luthor rescuing his half-brother, Lucas.
Yeah.
From gangsters.
I can't wait. It's going to be wild.
Oh, dear. Okay, so we're finishing that thread. The other son thread. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
No Lionel this time. He's still blind, I guess.
Maybe. Maybe, I don't know. He appears to be in the episode, judging by the photos, so we'll see.
I would hope he'd be in the next one, given that it's all about his 2 sons.
Yeah, you would think so, right? He got this week off, though. There was no Lionel in this episode, which is funny.
He did have a big episode last time.
But that's funny, though, because we did a Star Trek right before this, and John Glover showed up, and we said, "Oh, double John Glover this week because he's in the Star Trek." And then we watched Smallville, and he's not in it.
The universe lined up so that we, just to perfectly dose it out for us. So we just get our weekly fix.
Yeah, wild.
Yeah.
Anywho, there you go. That's the show. You can let us know what you think of this Smallville in the comments. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Helps out a lot if you do. More people will find the show on the channel. And of course, you can support us over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV and get some bonuses. There's a bonus monthly review of Columbo that I do. There's bonus episodes of a lot of the movie shows over at Mail Fuzz Movies. If you haven't checked any of those out, go check them out for free on the YouTube or on the podcast feeds. One of the things you get early access to is these Smallville reviews, and we're actually quite far ahead in this. By the time you're getting this on YouTube, the Patreon's probably on season 3, comfortably.
Be, yeah.
So, go check things out, support the show. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. Won't somebody save me?